because I don't know anything. So take it away.
Sorry, I'm just pulling up my screen real quick. Now I've lost my own screen. Okay, how's that?
Looks good.
Okay, cool. Excellent. So today I am offering a first go around at the practices on using ChatGPT, because as we all know, since about the winter time, it's been a very hot topic since ChatGPT debuted in November, and students and teachers and everybody else has been utilizing it. So let's figure out how is the best way to use it. So I'm going to go over a lesson that I actually gave on ChatGPT. I gave it to a physics class back in the spring semester. Just a disclaimer, this presentation is a little dated. I haven't had a chance to update it. So all of my content is from February. And as we know, technology moves fast, and ChatGPT and AI has been moving very fast in the last few months. So it's a little dated. So I hope to update this for classes for the fall semester. So the inspiration for talking about ChatGPT, obviously it's a new tool, it's a new tech that everybody's using. This was also a student requested lecture. I went to a physics class back in the spring. It was a junior seminar, and we talked about literature reviews. During our discussion, they casually mentioned ChatGPT. At the end of it, they asked me to come back and talk about ChatGPT. So then it was like, okay, how do I develop a lesson about ChatGPT? Because I hadn't had a chance to play with it. I don't really know much about it. I ended up talking with a few of my colleagues here at Western, and I got 2 of them to come on board to help me figure out how to develop some best practices. The 3 of us then created a whole presentation on plagiarism, citations, and then of course using ChatGPT, since it goes kind of hand in hand with research in those capacities. Also, another disclaimer, you're gonna see a lot of pictures of my dog, Riley. He is a little spotlight for all my students, and they love seeing his little furry face. So we're gonna get started with my lesson for ChatGPT. So what is it and how do we utilize it? So what we know about it, or what we knew about it, is that it's a language model. It's brand new. Like I said, it came out back in November. It has the capabilities to write like a human. So it's kind of interesting that technology has come to this point where it can converse to us like we're talking with another human, even though it is a robot, essentially. It knows a lot and it does a lot. You can play games with it. You can have it write songs. You can have it compose stories. There's lots of different uses for ChatGPT. And again, it is very, very popular. Let's see. Just making sure I didn't miss anything in my notes. All right, so like I said, I gave this to a physics class. So I asked them, what kind of topic do you want me to ask ChatGPT about? And they said spaghettification. So if I asked you guys what spaghettification is, what do you think it means? I'll take chat question. Say again.
Throwing stuff at the wall until something sticks.
Okay, what else? The moment a noodle turns from hard to soft, something about strings sticking together, becoming a noodle. Okay, kind of along those lines, but not necessarily. So I'll tell you short form, it's essentially what happens to a star when it gets too close to a black hole. Because you know, black holes like to suck in everything and anything, and then it just disappears forever, whatever it consumes. So this is what happens to a star when it gets too close to a black hole. It strings out like a long piece of spaghetti until it is fully absorbed. So in the short terms, that's what it is. That's why I have a picture of the first official black hole picture here on this screen as well. So I asked ChatGPT to write me 2 paragraphs about spaghettification in physics. So give me 2 long paragraphs written for somebody who actually is knowledgeable in the physics realm and stuff. Then I asked it to give me the same paragraphs with citations. I noticed that it basically gave me the same 2 paragraphs and it just inputted citations after several different sentences. So then I got curious about these citations and if they're real and how legitimate they are. Then I asked it to give me the citation list and actually gave me all of those citations that it previously mentioned. So based on looking at this list, how many do you think are real and how many do you think are fake? Or do you think they're all real? Yes, I know I disappointed everyone that spaghettification does not include food. All fake. Most are fake. 90% are real or fake? 75% fake. Okay, I'm about to disappoint some of you guys a little bit. Of my 7 citations, about half of them were fake. I verified all 7 of these citations. I utilized Google Scholar. I utilized utilized citation searching in our databases. I also even enlisted the help of my ILL person to make sure that these resources actually existed or did not exist somewhere else. So now I'm going to break down why these 3 citations that popped up fake were fake. And it's kind of interesting. So this is the first one. This is what ChatGPT provided me. And it's actually supposed to be this. So basically, ChatGPT took this title from real citation and then created a whole new citation from it. All the authors, disclaimer, they're all real people who are astrophysicists or physicists or astronomers and stuff. So all these people are real, but not all of these citations are real. So in this one in particular, the author, publication, volume, issue, pages, year, and what DOI don't exist, or they're incorrect. The publication does exist. This particular issue, volume, and article number all do exist, but it's for a different citation. It's actually for this particular article, which I thought was interesting. Okay, next. This is my next citation. Anything look out of the ordinary to you? Maybe, maybe not. Fun fact, this one is completely fake. I tried everything. I could not find it. My ILL person could not find it. So it's like, where did this source come from? I have no idea, but it looks legitimate. The one thing I thought was interesting is that the DOI kind of looks like an ISBN number, but the ISBN number doesn't even exist. Okay, this is my 3rd fake citation. Anything look wrong with it? Yeah, it does look real, doesn't it? I thought this one was really interesting because only a couple of things were actually incorrect. It was the authors and the title of this particular publication. Everything else is correct, except for those 2 things. And then for fun, I had ChatGPT explain spaghettification to the average adult. It used terminology that an average person would understand, saying that, like I had said in the beginning, pulls the object, stretching it into a long, thin shape like a piece of spaghetti. And then for fun, I had to explain it to a 5-year-old or a 5th grade student. So like, it's a cool word and it's really interesting. And it's an amazing thing that scientists like to study and want to learn more about. Okay, so let's get into some of these best practices. So these were some of the guidelines that we decided to give students because we can't tell them they can't use it. It's like when Wikipedia first came out, people were like, don't use Wikipedia. But honestly, Wikipedia is where I go to get a lot of like basic information to kind of get a basic understanding of a topic. So instead of telling them they can't use it, here's some things to think about when you are using it. So the first thing is to use it with caution and just to purely use it as a tool. Assess it for strengths and weaknesses. You can certainly use it for inspiration. You can develop your keyword searches, ask you some basic questions to get a more basic understanding to then figure out where you want to take your research and stuff. You can also use it to get clarification on things. So again, like spaghettification, super complex topic. You can have it say it in simple terms so then you have a better understanding of what's going on. And then if people's first language isn't English, or if you're trying to interpret something from another language, you can actually use it to for translation purposes. You can also use it for general like spelling and grammar, maybe get some different vocabulary, synonyms. But the other thing is you can't use it as your own words. You have to kind of interpret it and then put it into your own words when you do write it out. So those were our best, that was our first go around at establishing best practices. I'd love to have discussions and see what other people are using for ChatGPT. And again, here's my dog. Yeah, he does make a really cute GIF. He discovered the floors in a house we lived in previously were slippery enough that he could do a slip and slide. Yeah, we can talk about it more later. There's a session, not next session. Yeah, the next session is going to be all about ChatGPT. Oh, shout out to Katherine. She was one of my colleagues that helped me develop these best practices. Have my faculty started asking about other AI? Not to my knowledge, but I'm trying to become more well-versed in the different types of AI that exist. So that way I can communicate with them. I actually have a friend who is, he writes a bi-weekly newsletter about how we're incorporating AI into modern society. And a couple of his newsletters lately have been all about education. And since I'm in education, he's been asking me about some of my opinions on it. So I can certainly share the link so you guys can also join the conversation there, or even if you want to be asked questions by him to have your perspective included, he's willing to talk with people. Making it an activity. Yeah, I think making an activity would be a good idea. I do think there are some pluses and minuses to using AI. My biggest minus is that it doesn't have the human touch, human intuition. I don't think it ever will. If it does, then I think we're going to be in trouble. It will apologize for fake citations. That's funny. I'll punch my friend's newsletter in the chat and also in the conference notes if anyone is interested in checking it out. And I'll pass the baton on to the next lightning talk.
Thank you, Ashley. While Isaac gets our presentation set up, I'll just say that AI scares the crap out of me. I'm so afraid of the singularity and all that business. What do our robot overlords want from us? I don't know. So
Good morning, everyone, and thank you all so much for attending our session. Our title session is collaborative creation, empowering student colleagues to offer asynchronous training modules. I am Isaac, and with me is Amanda, and we are from Hutchins Library in Berea, Kentucky.
Thank you, Isaac. Yes, as Isaac mentioned, I'm from Hutchins Library. I'm the associate director there, an associate professor, an instruction librarian, and the supervisor of the reference desk student workers. There's 12 of them, and I've been there for 12 years.
I'm Isaac Sexton, a business administration senior at Berea College. My current title at Hutchins Library is reference associate, and I unfortunately will be graduating this coming May. Although Amanda would probably like me to fail a class or 2 or 3, so I can stay longer.
Stay forever, yeah. Hopefully you'll come back and join us as a colleague one day. So, I mean, a full colleague. So why should students do this? Why do we want them making lib modules? Well, for me, library instruction is not just outward facing instruction in the classroom. I do teach in the classroom across disciplines, but I also teach in-house as the person who trains my student colleagues. So one of the things I do is invite them to do special projects, and amongst those special projects is the ability to create training modules for their peers in LibWizard. Why? Well, it's to teach transferable skills for one. Berea is a labor college, and our labor program, which requires every single student to work on campus, is supposed to help prepare students for the world of work afterwards. Creating asynchronous learning modules is a practice in project management. It forces students to set deadlines, to design with the end in mind as they write a script, learn how to explain something succinctly, learn how to create a screencast video and caption it, and then consider the best way to assess the module user's proficiency. I love it because students better understand what their peers don't know, because they were recently novices themselves and thus can explain to their peers processes in a way that is, well, in more familiar language or less jargon. Finally, if a student can explain a process to others, then they understand it enough that creating that module serves as a practical demonstration of their proficiency in that area. So this is actually a screenshot of a LibChat module that Isaac made 2 years ago. He was one of our first student adopters to serve on the chat service, because in the beginning, during COVID, it was just the professional librarians. And one of the things I like about it is, of course, you can see if you haven't used LibWizard before, it's set up to look like guide on the side. On the left are questions to direct student learning. And then beneath the questions, you can see is a byline that gives him credit for using this, for creating this rather. So even after he leaves and graduates, he'll have evidence that he did this thing. And he can turn on maybe like a minute of the video, just because it's really interesting, because you can see how it shows both the student user perspective on the outside and then his perspective as an inside worker. Let's see, go ahead, Isaac. He doesn't like
homepage at the bottom right here. You'll see this little button. Whenever somebody clicks it, it'll bring up a lib chat. So we'll do my name, and we'll just put testing. So that way Howell and the reference desk know that this isn't a real chat. Did you want me to go longer?
Oh, maybe just so we can see the background. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Good. So I'll click start chat. And as you see, we got a notification. So I can click claim chat. And at that point, it is in my name and I'm talking to the person that requested the chat.
That's good, Isaac. Thank you. So Isaac doesn't like it when we share the video because he says it's cringeworthy to hear his own voice, which I think that all of us who've ever done any video tutorials will, understand. But I love it. All right, go ahead, Isaac, to the next one.
So a big question that we get asked is, what do students gain by creating training modules themselves? By allowing students to create training modules, it allows them to learn more about the topic that they're presenting to their peers. For me, by creating these training modules, I've learned about LibChat, I've learned about the faculty and staff within the library, learned about one of our databases called Billings on Demand. And I've also learned about the roles of our building managers who watch secure the building while the faculty and staff are gone. Also, it gives the students the opportunity to teach their fellow peers. So before creating training modules, I would have never been comfortable teaching other students my age, especially older students. Since creating them, however, I have gotten much more comfortable teaching others, as well as presenting in general, obviously, because I'm here. Next, it lets students learn new technology, which they may use to teach. Examples of this could be Spring-Share's LibWizard, basic HTML coding, or even Google Forms. So when I created my first module, the one we just saw, I used LibWizard, and I was honestly scared to death that I was going to break something or even the whole website. But now that I've used LibWizard, I use that and its advanced features. I use Google Forms to create a choose your own path module. And I've also used basic HTML coding that I've embedded in both LibWizard and Google Forms. Another thing that students also gain by doing this is an artifact, like the one we just saw when my name was on it, that they can then use for professional development, like on their LinkedIn profile or their CV, or even in conversation with future employers and coworkers. Since creating these modules, I've used artifacts in job interviews, resumes, and conversations with other librarians. Finally, letting students create modules provides them with a sense of accomplishment. I know that when I created my first module, the web chat one, and I saw other students completing it and actually learning something new, it gave me this huge feeling of satisfaction. Knowing that someone just learned something from a module that I created really made me feel like a superhero, like Superman. So I asked Amanda if I can get a cape. I still haven't.
So we're not unique in thinking that this approach makes sense. Constructivist learning theory supports our approach. The culture of our labor program is such that students are expected to gain increasing levels of responsibility and be assigned meaningful, but also practical work. They bring with them the background that they have as novice library employers and mutually as student users of our services. The process of building the module is one of active learning as they discover hands-on how to create an online learning object and how to use specific software to do so. The student brings with them their unique perspective as a student who only just recently learned that the very tool that they're teaching, so they are much better at not assuming knowledge on the part of the future end user of the module, as well as understanding their pain points. The student constructs the entire module from writing the script to creating the videos to embedding them in the module and even to formulating the questions that were going to guide the learner's experience. And so in the end, their work helps solve the problem of training our student colleagues. We have about, 30 or 40 modules in total, and at least 25 of them were made by me, but the rest were made by students who have a passion about something. Like it's our student who does collection development for young adult fiction made a module about that. The one who did a collection development for graphic novels did a module about that. It's really cool.
So we all know that there are those who aren't comfortable letting students teach their peers. So Amanda and I have come up with some common objections and our rebuttal. So the first one that we hear often is that you can't trust the student. But the way that I see it is if you can't trust students to help other students or patrons that are at the desk or within the library, then why can't you trust them online? Another common objection that we hear is students will mess it up or get something wrong. And yes, while they may mess up here and there, like we all do, I've seen and experienced firsthand that when a student works on a module, they may and most likely will find information that's incorrect, either on the library's social media page, the library's website, or physically within the library that otherwise would have never been found. And I apologize, that was my dog. Lastly, another objection that we hear is no one wants to hear another student teach them. However, students that teach others, gives those other students learning, not only a break from the voice of the supervisor, although we still love you, Amanda, but it allows students from different backgrounds and geographical locations to give them unique takes on the subject.
So Isaac made this one in 2 years ago, but just last week I had another student, Devin Martinez, create one. Devin is an education major, and I asked him if he could make, after he had just spent a week correcting broken links in LibGuides, if he could make a module about how he did that. That way, the next time a student assumes responsibility for that project, in addition to me training them, they can rely on that video. And here's the questions we asked him and his feedback. I said, what was the most difficult part about building a training tutorial in LibWizard?
And Devin said that he thought the most difficult part of LibWizard was working with the interface. He said it wasn't always clear how to make a training module look how it wanted to look or to do a certain thing.
And that's fair, because I gave him like an hour introduction, but like, who's going to remember all that, right? So then I asked him, how do you feel about your finished product?
And he said that he felt really good about his finished product. He wasn't sure if his questions were the best, but I think that's just me being hypocritical of my own work, which I truly understand.
I asked, do you think skills related to creating online learning objects could be useful in your future career?
Devin said, definitely, I always like to learn new things to teach people and new ways of teaching. So using the LibWizard was awesome for me personally. I can't wait to utilize these skills at some point in the future.
And then finally, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being super easy and 10 being incredibly difficult, how would you rate the process of building a module in LibWizard? And considering his answer to the first question, I was a little bit afraid about his answer to this, but
Devin rated it a 2 out of 10. So he said that it was pretty easy. He said, I think creating a module on LibWizard would be as difficult as you make it for yourself. The only reason I found it difficult at all was because I had never seen it before.
one of the keys, I think, is if you're gonna have students do this, you have to be available for them to ask you questions. He called me over to his table where he's working on it at least 3 or 4 times to ask questions and ask my opinion about what he did. And then after he was done, I previewed it before we published it. So it's not like he was completely alone, but there was a lot of time for him to kind of fumble around and see. I was going to ask you, Isaac, what do you think the hardest part about this is?
I think the hardest part is probably the actually creating the video that goes along with the module. So when you create the video, you share your screen and you really have to shoot it all in one fell swoop. So I didn't realize that at first, and Amanda suggested to me to write a script word for word of what I was going to say, and I did not do that because I'm stubborn. And so when I did the video, I had to re-record it probably 10 or 15 times. The 5-minute video that we just watched took me probably an hour and a half, just because I kept saying a lot, or I would just pause for like 10 seconds because I would forget what I was talking about. So I went back and actually wrote a script, and then the first time with using the script, I got it. So that was probably the hardest part, but yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. And I saw somebody else said it as a big mood to feel like cringed out by hearing yourself, which is true. I guess we have about a minute for questions. We took a little bit longer than planned. Sorry, guys, or y'all rather. But we thank you for listening. And yeah. Oh, I just realized Kelly said she loves your Zoom background. I just realized it's The Office.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that either. Does anyone have any questions for us? It is a great experience.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Yeah.
Isaac, I think it's awesome that you're doing this. And you did a great job presenting to us. So I just wanted to give you some positive feedback, and great job.
Yay, Isaac.
It always makes me nervous when I present in front of others, and especially since I'm doing it at home. I have like so much stuff going on, like my dog is scratching and my phone was blowing up, and I'm just like, it was a lot, but I made it.
Well, you did great. Thank you so much, Isaac. That's me speaking to you as one of the conference people. I appreciate you doing this. Conference people, planners. I don't know words. All right, I think it's our turn to cede the mic to the next person.
I believe that's me. Hi, sorry, my computer is weird. Let me get this all going. I pray this works because I don't usually use Zoom. So here we go. Pray for me.
If you could just put it into present mode, then we can see
Yeah.
the whole screen.
Yeah, I'm working on it. The box is annoying. Anyway, welcome, and hello, and happy RuPaul's Drag Race Day to those of you who celebrate, and happy Barbenheimer for those who choose another adventure. I'm Julie Howe. I'm from Somerset Community College, and this is how I normally am. I'm just being real with y'all today. This topic came about, I'll tell you the bummer part first. This topic came about because about 7 or 8 years ago, I had a really serious health thing because I was so ingrained in the idea of being productive and doing and planning and making things happen that I actually ignored my own health. So I am a cautionary tale, bummer. But I have learned a lot of things along the way that have improved my life since then. And I feel like particularly community college students have so many obligations that sometimes they do that as well. They put themselves last. They're caregivers, they are parents, they are employees in other places, they have a lot of challenges. So prioritizing these things is something that maybe they don't necessarily do. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get on with it. I'm actually going to make you do a thing. Yes, participation. So if you would, please take 1 minute. And what I want you to do is write down what's on your mind. Just dump it all out on a page. Open up a Google thing, open up your notes app. 1 minute, if I can figure out where the timer is. Okay, anyway, I'm going to time it, so it's all good. 1 minute, and then we will talk, and I will drink coffee. This could be thoughts from the conference. This could be things you're thinking of that you need to do, personal things, work things, whatever you've got going. Write it all down. All right, we got about 10 seconds, so try to start wrapping up. I know it's hard once you get in that mode. Usually I give people at least like 2 minutes, but we don't have that many minutes to go. Anyway, okay, how do you feel? Feel free to jump in, tell me in the chat.
Well, I'm scatterbrained because for some
Stressed.
reason I have coffee jitters and I'm just like all over the place today.
Same. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's very relatable. Yeah. Stressed. I'm very sorry. I'm gonna make it better. So just hang with me. Oh yeah, I am already freaking out about August. I'm sorry. Like I know I'm supposed to be like professional at this, but woo, yeah, it's coming. Well, thank you all so much for sharing. Like, it is stressful to look at a list and be like, oh, I've got to do all this stuff. This is terrifying. But you're supposed to feel a little bit better now that you put things on your list. And this is related to, yes, women scientists. This is called the Zeigarnik effect, and it was founded by Bluma Zeigarnik in the 1920s, which, I mean, awesome. Women in STEM, go for it. So by doing this, it's supposed to reduce the executive burden on your brain by freeing your brain of the things that you can do later. So you're supposed to be feeling a little bit better, but I also understand why you're stressed. But I really enjoyed finding this out. It made me very happy because I do. I mean, hold on. I will demonstrate. This is what I've done over the past 2 days. Like, this is stuff that I have listed down to do. I haven't finished it yet. But having a bit of a game plan relieves that anxiety for me a little bit. Okay, here's why we're stressed and why I ignored my body and myself. Internalized capitalism. Yay. Great. Came about from the Calvinist and Protestant work ethic theories, work ethics. You know, our self-worth is directly linked to our productivity and what we do. I should be, all of these things. My dad, who is a baby boomer, always told me growing up, find yourself a place to work and make yourself invaluable. Work hard. That's what I was told growing up, and I'm sure probably others of you have been told that as well. So this is something that has been ingrown in us for a really long time. It's embedded in how we produce work, period. Okay, so I found a wonderful article, and I'm not going to read all these. I'm just going to point out a few. Setting boundaries. Yes, setting boundaries. It is so hard. I am a person who's like, ooh, that sounds like a fun idea. I want to do that. And then before you know it, I have a list of activities for the semester that has me going nonstop. I have to pare those down. I have to make those boundaries. But also I'm a volunteer. I like doing stuff. But there is a fine line between saying yes too much and saying no too much. Neither one are good. To be clear, neither one are good. You've got to try to find a balance. How to decide whether you're going to say yes or no. These were so helpful for me to see in writing. You know, does it fit with your goals, your skills? Could it lead to something else exciting in a field that you're interested in? What is the timing? Do they need it tomorrow? Uh-oh, that's not going to work. Do you want to be involved in part of it? That I love. That was something I never thought of. Do you want to do a part of something and not the whole thing? Oh, me as a chronic perfectionist and former gifted and talented kid, I am a bit of a control freak. So I think I should have to do everything. Not true. Not so. Just like Amanda said, sometimes turning things over to other people can lead to really welcome benefits. Is it going to jeopardize your career? You probably should just do it. If at all possible. Drag people in to help you. Get friends. Get colleagues. Do it. Also, monotasking. Yay! We all know multitasking, so obviously monotasking is the opposite of that. Researchers notice that there can be what they call a bottleneck at the central area of information processing, and it only allows one thought through at a time. If you could only allow one thought through at a time, how are you going to multitask? Full disclosure, I am guilty. I'm so guilty. So guilty. It's beyond belief, but I'm trying to be better. And I'll show you some techniques in a little bit. Also, research shows that it takes 30 to 60 seconds to refocus on one task after transferring attention to another one. The more complex the task, the longer it takes to refocus. Pro tip, schedule break time between meetings or in meetings. Definitely. Also, the last one, I really need to find some more info on this to confirm, but this is from the NLM. So I'm kind of like, maybe it's true. It can reduce your IQ and reduce your productivity up to 40% by multitasking. Moral of the story, try to avoid it. How do we do that? Eliminate distractions. You've probably heard, just check your email a couple times a day if you can at all. Schedule a block of meetings and keep those running on time. Avoid interruptions. This is impossible for me. Impossible. Because if you saw in the chat, I am literally the only person here. I work a small campus library, and that is fine right now in the summer. But come August, it's going to be a whole different story. So I struggle with this one very much, and I'm working on it. Progress. If you're procrastinating, figure out why you're procrastinating, and also try to break it down. Do 10 minutes of something. Make a deal with yourself. Look, there is nothing wrong with saying, if I finish this, I'm going to go get an iced coffee. Nothing wrong with that. Now, if it becomes like every half hour, we'll talk. That's serious. But there is nothing wrong with bargaining with yourself and using that trick in your brain. And the last one speaks to me every time I do this. And that's actually good because I need to see it all the time. Your work is never going to be perfect. And it also can make you a procrastinator. Everybody makes mistakes. We're all just doing the best we can. I know I'm going fast, but I put the slides in the notes. And I'll check the chat in just a minute. The importance of planning. I discovered planning and bullet journaling from a colleague probably close to 10 years ago now. I probably have 10 bullet journals. And for me, maybe not for everybody, that is the structure that works best to keep me on task and help me prioritize my tasks. Strangely enough, the more you plan, the more productive you are, but also the better you feel because you schedule those times in for breaks. Okay, oh God, I love stationery. It's a lifelong love, horrid affair, honestly. I could talk about it all day long, but do check out JetPens. But make yourself some nice stuff so that you want to use it. Get the nice smooth pens that write well. If you need a rec, just ask me. Use them. The more you use them, the more you will continue to use them. The prettier it is, or the nicer it looks to you, the more you will want to pick it up. And, for people who are not necessarily into pretty, you can get really nice looking minimal stuff. If you need a rec, just ask me. I've got them. A few things to consider when you're prioritizing your tasks. Setting realistic goals. Again, taking breaks. I don't know if I can say that enough. I don't take breaks enough. And avoid that overworking. I have a guide available here. I forgot to put that in the chat, but I will. A few tools that you may wish to write down for productivity. I love the Eisenhower method so much. It is wonderful. It really helps me. So if I took like that list of things that I showed you or the list of things that you did earlier and did the Eisenhower method with it, you would see that there are things that you can remove from your list. There are things that need to be done now, et cetera, et cetera. Very helpful. Probably my number one most used tool. My students love the Pomodoro method. because you force yourself to work for 25 minutes, then you give yourself a break. Do that again. And then after 4 Pomodoros, that's named after the little kitchen tomato timer. After 4 of those, you get a longer break. We also have time theming, and the Forest app is basically a Pomodoro style app. But you grow trees, and that's cute, and I like it. I'm not going to click on this, but you definitely can. There's some people on TikTok who have the concept of eating the frog and doing the bad thing first and getting it over with is not new, but the children of TikTok have found that and decided that they're going to call it scary hour. I mean, whatever works for you, whatever works. You can achieve your goals. You're not going to change anything overnight. Baby steps are steps forward. I'm sorry, I'm rushing. You only have one self. You got to take care of it. I learned the very hard way, the very, very hard way. You are not going to work like somebody else either. So do your work, do your best, but don't kill yourself. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. I was going to have you take 1 minute to prioritize your tasks, but we're going to skip right to questions because I think I'm right about time. Also, I have a Planner Pals Discord, and that is available in the notes as well. All right, I'm going to hop over to chat. Yeah, choosing what to do first. I would definitely, Esther, I would definitely pass on vacuuming the dust bunnies and maybe call your sister first. Oh yes, top 3 in your planner. Love that. What are the top 3 things you're going to do? Honestly, you should be doing like 3 solid work things per day. Oh, I'm glad y'all are agreeing. I'm horrible at multitasking. I'm sorry. What is this break thing? I'm sorry. I am no better than any of you. I am only here to give some suggestions. Oh, the burnout workbook. I think I have seen that. I need to check that out. I know this is not necessarily a librarian task, but as kind of a STEM related dominated field, I feel that this is something that is relatable. Any questions? I'm going to shut up now.
Okay, well, I hope you all will join the Discord because it's a lot of fun. And we are going to sneak in one more because we had a speaker who didn't get to speak yesterday. And so, Katherine Howell, we're going to let you take it away. And we're glad that you were able to squeeze in today.
Hi, yes, thank you so much. I'm sorry, I had a personal issue yesterday, but I'm happy to be here now. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Right, can everybody see the presentation?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, and apologies, I just moved, so I don't have my second monitor set up, so it's gonna be a little hard for me to see the chat, but I'll check it at the end. All right, so hi everyone. My name is Katherine Howell. I put this together when I worked at Western Kentucky University. I'm actually moving into a new job shortly, but I did this research along with my colleagues Sarah McCaslin and Laura Delancey. So I'm going to be talking about outreach outside the classroom, library partnerships with living learning communities. Oh, there we go. So this brief presentation, first I'll just talk about the background and why we started this research. Then I'm going to discuss the results of a survey we did and provide some actionable recommendations for you at the end. So to get started with background, first, what are living learning communities? So they are student residence groups that are usually based around shared academic interests or identity groups. They typically involve living together in a dorm or apartments, attending extracurricular activities together, and often taking a required class together. And they're popular in higher education because they're one of the high impact practices, and they have been found to contribute to retention, higher academic performance, and increased engagement. So a little bit about our institutional context. We are at Western Kentucky University, which is a public institution with over 14,000 undergraduate students, and a good portion of our freshmen live on campus. WKU has emphasized and invested in LLCs since 2019, which is a little bit late to kind of getting into those, but it's been kind of a big priority. And there was some research put out recently that in the 2021-2022 academic year, WKU retained LLC students at a significantly higher rate than non-LLC students. So clearly something about that is working. So the WKU Libraries is kind of in the early years of a partnership with campus LLCs as a concerted effort to reach students outside of the classroom, because most of what we do is liaison work and in-classroom instruction. But this is a way to kind of reach students extracurricularly. And we have had some successes with our outreach strategies. We published a case study in 2022 about work with a particular living learning community. But in our work, we noticed that there was a lack of literature specific to libraries and LLCs. So we designed a survey to learn more about others' experiences. So our survey was created in Qualtrics, and we sought responses from librarians across the US using primarily ALA listservs. And we didn't have the biggest response, which was definitely a limitation of the study, but ultimately we had 28 diverse institutions represented once we duplicated our results. So we had R1 to R3 universities, as well as public and private, so a good range of different universities. And the primary goals of our survey, we really just wanted to figure out what was the prevalence of library and LLC partnerships, how libraries performed outreach and programming for LLCs, as well as what factors contribute to the success of LLC outreach, and lastly, what are the challenges associated with that outreach. So I'll go over some survey results. So first, we wanted to see about the presence of LLCs on the institution's campuses. So our respondents, 57% of our respondents said that their institution offers undergraduate LLCs, and we had a lot of I don't know responses. And among those that do offer undergraduate LLCs, we found that 69% of respondents, the library actively offers programming intentionally geared towards those LLC students. So this is something that is being done. We were curious about the types of LLCs offered at the respondents' institutions, and this fell in line with what we see generally. So this was a select all that apply question. So 81% of respondents had academic LLCs. So it might be students that are going to major in business or another kind of major like that. Those are often the ones that go along with the required course. There's also 56% that had shared interest LLCs. So common ones we see are like a sustainability LLC or an entrepreneurship LLC. 44% offered social or identity group LLCs like LGBTQ plus and first generation students. And so there's kind of a diversity of offerings there. And we were curious because at WKU, we perform outreach to LLCs, we have a liaison model for outreach in general. And so we kind of assigned LLCs that aligned with different people's interests and liaison responsibilities. And we found that a lot of others do team outreach as well. So about half of respondents also kind of contact LLCs as a group. But 29% have a single outreach or student success librarian that has in their job description to work with LLCs. 12% have a single librarian who's tasked with this responsibility, but they're not a student success or an outreach librarian specifically. And then as far as different types of programming offered for LLCs, this was another select all that apply question. And we saw that the vast majority, 91%, offered instruction and services-based outreach, which makes sense. So these are your typical information literacy instruction sessions, often in the classroom. But we also saw 55% offered collection-based outreach. So this might be book clubs or using library collections in some way. 45% were partnerships and community focused outreach. So this can be partnering with the public library, a nonprofit group, or just kind of getting students involved off campus. 36% was just for fun outreach, like pizza parties, game nights, and the like. 27% were whole person outreach, which I would kind of explain to be kind of like wellness-based activities. And then 18% were kind of multi-pronged themes, events, and programming. So we're seeing a lot of different types of programming, both kind of the typical information literacy instruction and more extracurricular, like activity-based programming. We also had kind of an open response question where we asked about successful events that have been put on, and we had some really interesting responses. Some of our respondents have had success with an internationally focused news discussion groups within their LLCs. Another had an etiquette dinner, which was in collaboration with many different LLCs and the libraries. And then we also saw some kind of the classic first year seminar instruction sessions, as well as basic library instruction classes. So based on our survey, we also had a question where we asked kind of about what was successful or what contributed to a successful partnership. And here were kind of some of the standout responses. First, we heard somebody responded, meeting students where they are and getting out of the library building. So that can mean going to their residence hall or going into their classroom, but really meeting students where they are. Second is the willingness of the faculty to reach out to the library for support, which many of us who do this work know that that's kind of important for any partnership. Third is tailoring the sessions or workshops or outreach to student needs. So really taking time to understand what students need before offering services or outreach is important. Fourth is finding ways to partner that are meaningful to the students. This is kind of goes along with thinking about student needs, but really thinking about what's going to inspire them or interest them. And lastly, it's the willingness of the advisor to support the library in its programming. So having champions and those that are eager about partnership can be really important. But obviously, this type of outreach is not without its challenges, and some of the themes that we saw repeated most frequently. First were student attendance, especially because these are extracurricular events or outside of the classroom. It can be hard to kind of mandate attendance, and so getting student numbers up can be challenging. Second is marketing these events. So some respondents talked about trying to use social media and other approaches. Typically, it works best when you can like partner with the LLC advisor to kind of encourage attendance, but that was a challenge. And then lastly was staffing and staff time, particularly when thinking about like those that do an approach as a team. It's like, whose responsibility is it? Who's going to do it? And because this often isn't the top priority, sometimes it can be looked over. So in light of that, and I know I only have like a little bit more time, I just want to give a few recommendations for if this is something that you're doing or are interested in doing. So first, they're kind of organized into a few buckets. The first bucket is responsibility. And based on our survey and our personal experience, we definitely recommend, if possible, that one individual at the library kind of is the point person for connecting with LLCs on campus. This will allow the library to offer similar services to every single LLC, and they can also kind of attend meetings that are for all LLC advisors at once. Secondly, would be customized programming, and it should be customized kind of on two fronts, both for what the library can provide, so based on library staffing levels, budget, and interests, seeing what can be done, but also, again, is working with LLC advisors, residence life, and housing staff to understand the interests, needs, and scheduling constraints of those students. And just like any other outreach or programming, when assessment is possible, it can be very important. And we would specifically recommend evaluating programming for LLC students based on alignment with library or institutional goals to kind of show how that outreach can contribute to the university or department's mission, as well as looking at learning outcomes and also satisfaction measures. So did people enjoy the events or the programming? And assessment can be a really helpful tool because it can help you determine if collaborating with LLCs is worth the time invested. It might not be. This might not be an approach that you try and it doesn't end up being effective, but you can figure out how to improve those activities or if everybody who plans them is satisfied with the outcome. So on this slide, these are kind of the two different publications that came out of our research. One is a discussion of our survey, and the second one is a case study about a specific LLC collaboration we did. And I think I have just a minute or two for questions.
I think, yeah, just a minute. Our next presentation starts at 12. And actually,
Yeah, sorry about that.
that's okay.
Oh, Amanda, we're delaying it to 12:10, so people have a slight break. And also
Okay,
we
I
can
didn't
take
realize
questions.
that. I didn't see that on the agenda.
There was one question in the chat, Catherine, from
Oh yeah,
John.
let me-
Have you done any types of programming you surveyed, and how did they go?
Yes, we've done a few different ones, and I can talk kind of about that case study we did, because I think one of the most effective kind of partnerships we did, I would say it was one of the activities. So this was a criminology LLC. And so Sarah McCaslin, my colleague, was kind of the point person for that collaboration. But with the criminology LLC, we were able to talk to the editor of our local newspaper who wrote a true crime novel or a true crime book, like a work of nonfiction, who came in to have a book club and discussion with the students. And that was really well attended, really interesting. And that went really well. And also for that LLC, there was a partnership with Special Collections to look at some of the kind of like true crime, like archival materials that we had and pictures and images like that. And so it ultimately was really well attended because it wasn't required for the class, but it was a book that was interesting to students. And it also kind of allowed us to showcase library special collections. So I would say that that's kind of one example of particularly successful programming. Thank you all. And I have my email address on the screen. So if you have any questions or would like me to send you either one of those articles, I'm happy to do that.
Perfect. Hearing none, saying none. Then we have a 10-minute break before we jump into the next session. Feel free to stick around and we'll see you back shortly.